So every single one of these people and the angel all had a history of being with God. They all had this history of resting in his presence when there wasn't a battle. They didn't go into this and say, there's a battle, I better immediately get with God. It was, I just need to be with God. I just want to be with God. I want to look at what it looks like, because I'm sure no one has this experience, so we'll have to find an example of what it looks like to seek God after the battle has started. In 1 Samuel 4, 1 through 3, the word of Samuel came to all of Israel. And Israel went out to battle against the Philistines, and they encamped beside Ebenezer. And the Philistines encamped in Aphek. Then the Philistines put themselves in battle array against Israel. And when they joined battle, Israel was defeated by the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men of the army in the field. And when the people had come into the camp, the elders of Israel said, "Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord from Shiloh to us, that when it comes among us, it may save us from the hand of our enemies." You see, the ark of the covenant, the ark of the Lord, that represented the presence of the Lord. And whenever Israel was to go into battle, the ark of the Lord was supposed to go in front. They were supposed to take worshiping priests and singers and put them in the front and carry the ark into battle, and then the warriors followed. It's a picture of our lives. This worship and praise goes first. The warriors come second. They didn't do that. They were supposed to do that. They did not do that. Now, what happened to get them into this position where they were defeated? Well, if we go back to 1 Samuel 3:1 and we start looking at some of this backstory, it says, "Now the boy Samuel ministered to the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There was no widespread revelation." This is a picture of history where people simply weren't listening to God. It wasn't because God was withholding from his prophets or withholding from his people. It was simply there weren't people willing to spend time in the presence of God and listen to him. And in fact, that continues on in chapter 3, verses 11 through 14. "Then the Lord said to Samuel, 'Behold, I will do something in Israel at which both ears of everyone who hears it will tingle. In that day I will perform against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house from beginning to end. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knows, because his sons made themselves vile, and he did not restrain them.'" See, even the priests were rebelling against God. They're just doing their own thing, whatever they wanted. You know, we could go back and try to figure out what it means that they were being vile, but I'm just telling you, they weren't spending time in the presence of God. They weren't interested in what God was doing. They weren't listening to the voice of the Lord. They wanted to do their own thing. Then they go into battle, doing it their own way, because they've always been victorious, and they get defeated. And then we go back to that verse in chapter 4. And what do they say? "Why has the Lord defeated us?" You know, it's so funny. It's like immediately, I haven't cared anything about God. I haven't listened to him. I haven't spent any time in his presence. I didn't seek his face. I didn't ask him what I was supposed to do. I didn't do anything. I get defeated. Something goes wrong. And the first thing I say is, why did God do this to me? Why did God let this happen to me? Why does God hate me? And that's exactly what they were doing. And then after they blamed God for their failure, even though he was never asked to be a part of this, never sought, they then try to force God's hand by invoking a spiritual right from their past experiences. Oh yeah, if we have the Ark of the Covenant, we'll win. Well, that's what God told them to do, right? Bring the Ark of the Covenant. So they went and get the Ark of the Covenant. But what did they say? "Let us bring the Ark of the Covenant, that when it comes among us, it may save us from the hand of our enemies." They weren't looking for the presence of God. They were looking for a magic box. They were looking for the Ark of the Covenant from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the one they could open it up and melt all their enemies' faces with, right? They weren't looking for the presence of God. They wanted a tool to defeat their enemies. Oh, let's bring in the big guns. We'll go get the ark.